If you or a loved one were clickbaited by Barbra Streisand on the NBC Best of Broadway Special, you may be entitled to compensation. Let's talk about this week in theater. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Theater, the show where we break down exactly what went down in theater this week. Let's dive right in. First, a very happy Hanukkah to our viewers who celebrate. Second, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but this week in theater, we got word that the Ratatouille musical, the TikTok musical, is actually happening. Like, it's a real thing now. A couple days ago, it was announced that on January 1st, there'd be a one-night-only streamed benefit concert version of the Ratatouille. We don't know a whole lot about this, but we do know that it is happening on January 1st, that it will be streamed virtually, that it is a benefit for the Actors Fund, that it is being executive produced by Jeremy O. Harris, who is the playwright for Slave Play on Broadway. It is Disney approved, and it will feature some of the TikTok creators and their work, and that those creators will be compensated for that work. What we don't know is everything else. We don't know who the director is, we don't know who the creative team is, we don't know what exactly the content will be, and we don't know who the stage manager is, or even if there is a stage manager. By the way, I am available. Either way, you can get tickets for $5 for the January 1st stream at ratatouille.com, and hopefully this will be the weirdest thing that happens in 2021. This week in theater, the FDA's Vaccine and Other Biological Products Advisory Committee voted to recommend that the FDA approve the Pfizer vaccine for use in the United States, which means that we could see distribution in the United States as early as next week. The same vaccine is already being distributed in the United Kingdom, and a lot of people are talking about the fact that the first man to receive the Pfizer vaccine in the United Kingdom was named William Shakespeare. But really, what's in a name? That which we call a vaccine recipient would by any other name smell just as much like an 80-year-old man from Great Britain. This week in theater, we got a lot of theater content, and I mean, like, a lot. Like, could we not have spread this out over a couple of weeks? Why did every single network decide that they're gonna create their musical theater content for this week? It's like when you're driving and you're looking for a gas station, you don't see one for like 30 miles, and then you see 4 of them on one street corner. We got the Grinch special, we got the Best of Broadway special on NBC, and we got the Prom on Netflix all in 1 week. And we don't have time to unpack all of that, so let's focus on the Best of Broadway special. And I know this was all pre-recorded and not live, but I felt a little cheated because when they told us we were getting a performance from Barbra Streisand, I didn't think we would be getting a performance from Barbra Streisand's concert that happened 14 years ago. Also, not for nothing, but when she was giving her little speech about why she misses theater, she named almost every single position backstage except for stage managers. In fact, the only time in the entire special that stage managers were actually mentioned was by Nathan Lane at the very beginning, and a few poorly framed shots that revealed the dance line that was taped to the ground during all that jazz. But the good news is, essentially, the entire thing was a benefit for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, and so many people went to their website to donate that it crashed 11 minutes into the event. Regardless, getting to see this event on the same evening that we found out that the Pfizer vaccine could be coming in a matter of days was so needed and such a glimmer of hope that we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel of this great pause. Speaking of the unending dark tunnel that is 2020, this week in theater, Andrew Rannells went on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and the pair performed 2020 the Musical, which was a bunch of song parodies from Broadway shows with very 2020 lyrics. It's very well done and really funny, and you should go watch it, but the problem is, this was an idea I had for this channel. So now I can't do it unless I want to seem like I'm copying them. I had like completely different jokes and different songs and everything, but I just, and their version was great, but they did it too early. You can't do this at the beginning of December. That's like going into tech without having the finale staged, which does happen. What do you think? Should I still make it? Let me know in the comments down below if you would watch my version as well, or if I should just leave it to the pros who beat me to it by like 2 weeks. And this week in theater, the Met Opera began preparations for their 2021 season by locking out all of the IATSE stagehands and technicians because the union refused to sign off on a 30% pay cut, 15% of which, half of which, would be indefinite. Actors Equity Association, the American Guild of Musical Artists, and the American Federation of Musicians have all come out with public statements of solidarity with the IATSE members that are being locked out. SAG After, on the other hand, has made no such public statement. It seems that they are only interested in mobilizing their members when it comes to attacking a sister union instead of standing in solidarity. The Met's demands are one that I feel like a lot of the unions will be dealing with a lot of the time as we move into the 2021-2022 season. Companies are going to want to cut wages in an attempt to compensate for lack of revenue, and a lot of people feel like this is just inevitable, so we might as well agree. And to an extent, I think they're kind of correct, sort of, because revenue is definitely going to be reduced, and therefore wages will probably have to be reduced. But the important thing is that we don't just blatantly agree, and we have to be super careful and intentional with where we're making these concessions. For example, number one, I would love for our unions to make sure that the highest paid employees at a theater company are the first in line for pay cuts. If an artistic director is still making six figures while the stage managers and actors are barely making minimum wage, there's a problem with that. Second, we need a written agreement about when wages will return to their pre-pandemic amounts after a specified finite amount of time. For theaters on agreements that have a tiered system like the League of Resident Theaters or the short engagement touring agreement, this is super simple. I think it's totally reasonable for them to say we're going to reduce our wages to the tier that we think we'll be able to make in box office revenue this year. And then if they happen to exceed that, they then retroactively pay all of the artists for the tier that they should have been in. And eventually their box office revenue will return to their pre-pandemic levels, and at that point they would be pushed back into the tier that they were originally. The only caveat being that I don't think they should be allowed to reduce the number of contracts that they're offering compared to the number of non-union contracts they're offering, but only reducing the wages for the number of contracts they would have already been offering. For other contracts without this built-in system, we're going to need to get creative. So what's the indicator we can all agree on? Is it box office revenue, just like the other ones? Is it a specified amount of time? Is it something else entirely? I don't know. I just know that it can't be an indefinite amount of time because this is not the moment for us to take two steps back in our bargaining power. If you have an idea for how unions should approach these negotiations, let me know down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. My name is Kent, and that was This Week in Theater. This snazzy feathered production assistant, as well as other cool stage management merchandise, is now available at kentjamescollins.com/store. Link in the description below.